What's up, YouTube gang? This is Casper Reacts back at it again with another video for y'all guys. I'm going back into Suicide Boys, diving deep into more of their history, and shout out to Beef Ziri for DMing me this video recommendation. Today I'm going to learn even more about how addiction almost destroyed the the Suicide Boys. So I can't wait to dive into this video and learn more about them. So without further ado, let's get into the video.
Ruby Da Cherry and Scrim are perhaps the biggest success story to come out of underground hip-hop. They have been able to take an inaccessible sound with deeply disturbing subject matter and push it towards mainstream audiences, perhaps building the most die-hard and loyal fan base within hip-hop. They were able to achieve this all whilst being fully independent, lacking any form of mainstream coverage, and even being demonized by much of the public for their subject.
Now that is very, very hard to do. Just maintain being underground the whole entire time without any help and being independent. That is super hard to do. So congratulations to them, bro, for real.
Matter. The duo seem to be unstoppable, although something darker than music industry corruption and media slandering almost led to their downfall. This is how addiction almost destroyed one of the most promising and influential artists to come out of the underground. Before we can understand the issues that almost led to their downfall, we first need to understand their rise in the industry and, more importantly, issues from their childhood that led to years of addiction. Ruby and Scrim both grew up in...
I do have a little bit of the background information because I did react to Nardwar's interview with them, and they did broke down just a little bit of the stuff, but I'm pretty sure this guy's going to give even more context into this situation. So
in New Orleans and had an unbreakable family bond from the very beginning. They are both cousins and share the same grandma. Their grandma would not only be instrumental to their childhood, but part of the glue that held them together during their later career. They have both described their grandma to be a scary woman who would keep them in line if either of them were to have a falling out. Scrim
man, shout out to all the grandmas out there. My grandma, she is still kicking. She's in her 90s. She just turned 90 last year, so this year she's gonna be 91. Man, I don't know what I would do without my grandma. She literally always prays over me. I don't think I'll be safe or wouldn't be here right now because her prayers, man. Love her grandma. Oh, and also she was old school too. She used to lock us out in the summertime. Me and my brother and all our cousins used to be there. He used to lock us out, and we cannot come into on dinner time, man. So we had to find what to do, bro. We had to find what to do and have fun outside. Good times, good times.
would grow up within a very poor family, with Ruby being slightly more well off. They would both get into hip hop at around 8 years old, with Ruby being interested in artists like Lil Wayne, whilst Scrim was more into the local hip hop at the time, inspiring Ruby to dig deeper into their local scene. Ruby would begin playing instruments around 10 years old, specifically becoming passionate about the drums, whilst Scrim would receive a janky old turntable for his 13th birthday, inspiring him to begin DJing. Scrim would begin hosting mixtapes within the area, whilst Ruby began playing drums in a band named Vapor Rats. Whilst Scrim was working in a furniture store, he would find out that T-Pain produced all of his beats on GarageBand, inspiring him to purchase a laptop and begin learning how to produce. He began to see a small amount of success, making money on the side and even being signed to Universal, although he would later state how Universal royally f***ed him over, perhaps inspiring the group's independent sentiment that they would continue throughout their career. Around the same time, Scrim got fired from his job for his tattoos, which he later stated was the best thing to ever happen to him, as it inspired him to double down and...
Man, he looks so different young though. Scrim looks so different than he does. I mean, honestly, he looks more like himself like he did now since he's been sober. But during those videos that I was watching before, yeah, he looked completely different. So
and work harder to make it within the music industry. At this point, Ruby had been playing drums within Vaporats for around 12 years and realised the project wasn't going anywhere. He stated how the rest of the members weren't putting in the same effort as he was and decided to focus on a hip-hop solo career instead. They would both focus on their respective solo careers, although as they realised their collective music sounded better, would begin focusing more on collaborative projects, eventually forming the duo in 2014. What is that? That is not supposed to happen. What happened to the video? Oh yeah, I almost forgot. This video is sponsored by Tej.
Man, I respect. Get your paper up. I can't wait till I get my own sponsorships for real. Hey, but you know, gotta keep grinding. But I'm gonna have to skip it, bro. But respect, man, respect. All right, let's go back.
Forming the group, they both became sick of working 9-to-5 jobs and spent all of their free time working on music together. They were so dedicated to the project that they made a pact. They both promised that if they hadn't made it in the music industry by the time they were 30, they would both partake in self-deletion together. I, of course, do not encourage the promotion and romanticism of self-deletion.
I remember that in that interview as well, and I agree with him too. The YouTuber here. Even though I admire the dedication, please don't ever make that type of pact, man. Please don't ever make that type of pact. Just say, hey, if I don't make it in 30 years, bro, I'll just work for the rest of my life or something. Like, I remember how Logic, how he said how his thing, you just give me 1 year. If not, I will just be a regular dude, just work at 9 to 5. Yeah, I'd rather have that type of pact, you know. But either way, I'm glad they made it, so they didn't have to go through with it.
This may seem drastic, although it's understandable when exploring their headspace at the time. In interviews, Scrim has suggested that their lifelong depression stems from something hereditary, although hasn't gone into any more detail than that. Their depression quickly led them down the dark path of addiction, with Ruby being prescribed Vicodin at the age of 13 after a skateboarding injury that resulted in surgery. Ruby had to have 3 screws placed in his ankle and was prescribed the pill to deal with the pain. He has later stated that this prescription jump-started his addiction to opiates and would constantly try to seek them out as soon as he reached adulthood.
And that's what happens to a lot of these like beautiful cities. Most of the drug addiction starts from medical prescriptions. So you really have to be careful what you get. That's why I don't like going to hospitals or getting any medicine of any kind. I'd rather just suffer through most of the time. That's just me being stubborn. It's a good thing and a bad thing, I guess. But still, man, you just really have to be careful. Sometimes just trying to find some natural remedies before going to, the chemical route. Because that doesn't really fix the problem. That just only suppresses it for a little bit. But it doesn't really fix the problem.
Was completely opposed to the idea of drugs until the age of 16 and instead drank heavily. He stated how he was unable to drink without blacking out and always pushed it too far. Addiction would start for Scrim after his granddad would pass away. Him and his grandfather were extremely close, with Scrim referring to him as a father figure. The pain was so intense that Scrim was tempted by a pain pill on the day of his grandfather's funeral. Instead of feeling sick or groggy, the pill made him feel extremely euphoric and allowed him to feel confident enough to give his eulogy at the funeral. He has stated in later interviews that he feels he would have been unable to give the eulogy without the help of the pill. He felt comfortable in his own skin for the first time in his life and made a pact with himself. He wanted to feel that way every day for the rest of his life. The two quickly started abusing daily. Despite this, they didn't slow down in regards to creating music. They later explained how they were so used to their addiction that it felt normal for them. They would wake up feeling euphoric and energetic, creating music all throughout the day before quickly nodding off at night. The addiction didn't dampen their creative drive, resulting in the release of their debut mixtape, which featured prominent underground artist Bones. You
know what? I think it's a good idea. I think I should react to their first mixtape, like all the way back in time to the beginning, if it's still available anyway. Let me know in the comments if y'all want me to do that. I think it's a good idea, but I'm not going to do it if y'all don't want me to do it.
feature gained them a small amount of notoriety, building a small online fan base. Their lives would change forever in 2015 after working with prominent artist Puya. By that time, Puya was already established within the industry, resulting in their collaborative song Southside Suicide blowing up. I'm so sorry, I hate the censorship on this platform. Taking the group.
No, I've gotten a lot of requests. I need to do Puya too. I need to react to Puya. It's coming. Don't worry, it's coming. It's coming.
From 5 to 50,000 followers on SoundCloud, they continued to work, releasing 6 solo EPs, 5 collaborative EPs, and 6 mixtapes that same year, totaling 125 songs. They formed their own record label, G59 Records, in 2015, allowing them to have full creative control of their work, as well as being able to sign artists they felt fit into their sound and sentiment. By 2018, they had released their 43rd project and debut album, I Want to Die in New Orleans. They had achieved a huge level of monetary and cultural success. They had essentially.
And then I've known that album because I reacted to it. If y'all want to check that out, hey, I have just click that banner or just look in my playlist, man. I enjoyed that album, but it's not as good as their newer stuff. And I learned because y'all put me on that Scrim actually hated that album because it was basically the lowest of his lows during that time. So that's good with it, how what they came from, you know, and how they evolved as artists. Man, congratulations, y'all.
Eventually become underground legends by this point, directly inspiring artists like Lil Peep and XXXTentacion, even taking the two on some of their earliest tours. These two artists.
That's funny because I'm reacting to Lil Peep right now. I am. That's something. And I just did a video doing his first album, Crybaby, too. That's cool. I didn't know that they inspired him.
Artists are seen as two of the most influential figures in modern hip-hop, which in part means Suicide Boys were instrumental to the progression of the genre. This may seem entirely positive, although something extremely dark was happening behind the scenes. The two had abused drugs throughout their rise, hoping that achieving success within the music industry would fix all of their problems and fill the empty void within their lives. Unfortunately, this wasn't the case, and their mental states remained the exact same. This resulted in a huge downward spiral for Scrim. He had achieved something monumental and was living his dream, and despite this still suffered from intense depression, leading to worsened addiction. During the production of I Want to Die in New Orleans, Scrim was consistently fastballing, taking up to 20 Adderall and Xanax a day, as well as abusing darker and more dangerous compounds. This resulted in severe psychosis, causing a monumental split between him and Ruby. Whilst Ruby and their manager were in New Zealand,
I remember that during the interview. I know Ruby told Scrim, it's like, if you don't stop, we're done. So I'm glad he actually held Scrim accountable. So that applaud to Ruby.
Scrim bought a condo in Florida and officially announced his departure from the group on Twitter. Ruby was unable to reach Scrim and quickly hopped on a plane to confront him in person. His psychosis was so severe that he had convinced himself that Southwest Airlines had a plot to game end him. This psychosis stemmed from a story involving his brother. A few years earlier, his brother, who was also suffering from addiction, sold a bootleg Suicide Boys track to a fan for $800. When the track was purchased, he never sent the song and essentially scammed the individual. Scrim had become convinced that the kid who attempted to buy the track and got scammed was the son of somebody on the Southwest Airlines board and wanted to assassinate him as a result of this. He had convinced his entire family of the story and even shared it with his fans, resulting in various members of the fan base directly tweeting at Southwest Airlines. When Ruby arrived to confront Scrim, he asked Scrim if he actually believed that Southwest Airlines had a plot to game end him. He simply responded saying yes. Ruby became so enraged he threw his phone, smashing it on the sidewalk. Although this seems like a situation that would split.
I didn't know it was a whole conspiracy involved in all this. Dang. Okay. I didn't think it was that deep. Shoot. Of course, I mean, it's affected by Scrim's mind state, but still.
break up any music group, the cousins had a bond so tight that nothing could break them apart. They were both working to support the exact same family and knew they had to do whatever it took for that to continue to happen. Scrim saw the way his psychosis was affecting Ruby and the rest of the team and committed to the 12-step program. According to their Theo Von interview, Scrim actually saw a video on how Theo became sober, which inspired him to continue his journey. He built a positive support group around him, and despite his intense addiction, was able to stay sober. Despite Scrim's sobriety, Ruby was still within the depths of addiction. He explained how the group of people he had built around him through collective use had helped with his loneliness. Scrim set up an intervention for Ruby in 2020, which proved successful, meaning as of 2022, Scrim was 3 years sober and Ruby was reaching.
That's cool because first, Ruby saved Scrim, and then Scrim saved Ruby at the end. That's awesome. That's actually really good, man. Why aren't all family members of this type, bro? Even people, brothers and sisters, are not that tight. Like, real. That's cool.
Reaching 2 years California sober, which essentially means he only smoked devil's lettuce. Their relationship as cousins had built a pillar of strength. They could bounce off each other in times of need and completely switched up the direction of their career and, most importantly, lives. Despite always being successful even through the darkest depths of addiction, the group had a huge shift after becoming sober. Their sound and energy had developed massively. Even visually, the two were looking much happier, brighter.
Look at him. Look at him. He looks like his old self. Like in his when he was old younger. Minus the face tats, but still. Look at him. Look at him.
And healthier as a result of their life choices. As of 2024, the two are continuing to put out large amounts of music and putting on tours that give back to the underground, featuring countless artists smaller than them as a way to give back to the culture that changed their lives. The story of the group's addiction really showcases their passion for not only the music they produce, but each other as family. They continued to work together through some of the hardest times imaginable and never left each other's side, even through severe addiction and the most depraved aspects of fame and success. When I first started listening to the duo in 2015, I was inspired and impressed by their music and unique image, although saw little likelihood they would survive even the following years. Their determination and drive completely proved me wrong in that sense, and I couldn't be happier to be incorrect. The group rose to prominence entirely through the underground, and despite their huge success, it can be argued that they are still underground, producing their music entirely independently, inspiring countless individuals not only through their music but through their drastic lifestyle change, and that's only going to leave a positive message for countless individuals suffering through the exact same problems.
Kind of reminds me of like the story of Jelly Bean, even though I never listened to Jelly Bean, but I know of his story. So, which is something like a lot of people get attached to artists' story rather than the music sometimes. This is not the case for me, but I'm just saying a lot of times people do. Like they'd rather buy the brand than the product in a way. That's something. Having your own unique stories is very, very powerful. That's it. Well, that was very insightful right there, man. Thank you, Beef Ziri, for recommending me this video. Hey, if y'all want to recommend me videos, hey, just DM me in one of my social medias, man. So with that, bro, that was good. And if y'all liking this content, please leave a like, subscribe, and please don't forget to hit that bell icon so y'all continue to stay updated. With that, I'll see y'all in the next video.